Good morning, folks, and here's an article from CBR.com on the Game Awards and why The Last of Us Part 2 deserves to win Game of the Year. And he wrote this today, or rather yesterday, so we know it won Game of the Year, or at least, was it the Golden Joysticks? Well, some award it won. It won all in multiple categories for some website. So this is Abram Bjorner's explanation as to why it should win all these awards, or why it should win at least Game of the Year award. So let's go through the article. It's hard to look at the slate of nominees and not immediately gravitate towards Last of Us Part 2. It's like, okay, so obviously this person has played the game and likes it. It's certainly the most polarizing on the list, I would agree. Suffering leaks and controversy for the game was even released. Many players had made up their minds. That's true, and then we actually saw the game and played the game and went, oh, it was worse than we thought. Even in its light of its glowing critical and commercial reception. So again, a lot of people bought it. Doesn't mean it's good. A lot of critics liked it. Doesn't mean it's good, especially these days with critics and their opinions. May continue to deride the game. However, when cutting through the noise, this is the man and his scalpel of objectivity, just cutting through all that praise and all the hate. I'm going to be very clear how this works. Last of Us Part 2 is a resounding triumph. A resounding triumph of what? What does it mean to be a resounding triumph? See, these big flowery words mean nothing without contextualizing them. So it's like, please define what you mean. Here we go. Intelligent approaches to narrative and gameplay. All right, what is intelligent about the narrative and gameplay? The game's success is multifaceted, but its greatest achievement is its narrative. Now, that's funny because a lot of us would completely disagree, 100%, saying you are just completely not listening or paying attention to the narrative and what the narrative means. Or your standards for what a narrative is not akin to everyone else or akin to storytelling as a whole. What about the narrative works for you, sir? The Last of Us Part 2 tells a harrowing and subversive story. Harrowing, for sure. You can certainly say that. The entire experience is just bringing you down. And you could say that's a tragic tale. That's a tale of a person going from riches to rags, or any other scenario where the drama keeps going lower and lower, and you sink into either madness or sadness or loss. The problem with that is it's connected with he calls a subversive story. And subversion is a very dangerous thing. As we've seen with The Last Jedi, as we've seen with other stories, that once you start changing the expectations of the audience or the plot, things go badly very quickly, because you're then taking away the given audience of what they expect from a genre, what they expect from characters, what they expect from the characters' plots and events to unfold. And it's not to say that you have to tell a story where everything's expected, but that they're expected in the genre and the emotions that are coming from that genre to elucidate. So you don't say, okay, we're doing a romance story and all of a sudden it's a tragedy. A lot of tragedies do involve romance, but you know going into a Puccini operetta what you're going to get. You know, it's not suddenly going to turn into a comedic or romantic comedy or Shakespearean comedy where someone gets married at the end. You're expecting Puccini to kill everyone off, especially with some of Shakespearean tragedies. You know what's going to happen at the end of Hamlet. You know, Ophelia's not going to suddenly be happy and wed and sane. No, everyone's going to die. Nothing about the events that unfold are expected, but everything services a larger message about love being stretched so thin it turns into hate. And this is where I categorically disagree. There is no love being stretched so thin it turns to hate. These are stories of revenge. Revenge is not love being turned to hate. Revenge is someone hurt the person I love, therefore I'm going to hurt them back. That's pretty much it. There's no love to hate. Love to hate is I love someone and then they do something bad and now I hate them because what they did was so bad. That was love being turned to hate. Now, stretched so thin, meaning I love this person, he does something bad, I still love them, they do something bad again, I still love them, and it keeps piling up. That's love being stretched too thin. And then finally I say, no, I can't do this anymore. Now it's turned to hate. That is what this person is trying to, is actually saying. So they don't even get their terms right when they're describing the narrative, which is already a horrible paragraph. If you're saying The Last of Us 2 narrative is amazing and this is why, that's dumb. That's incorrect. Naughty Dog operates with a boldness that doesn't care about the player's idealized version of Last of Us cast. This is true. It is very bold in what they did to Joel and what they did to Ellie and how they treated Abby and vice versa. That doesn't mean it's a good narrative. It just means it's bold. It's like, oh, we're going to do something really, really bold right now. Not too many people will like it. It's like, well, then, I mean, that's what you're going to get. Instead, it shows them grow up, mature, and throw out all that progress away. All right. So some of this is true. This Ellie turns into a revenge-seeking person. This is true. Joel suddenly becomes another character. He behaves completely different than how he should. So yeah, that is true. But that's not a good thing. That's the opposite of what we want from stories. Remember, a story is an idealized world where people grow and change outside of our understanding of contemporary settings. So we see, oh, this person is going to learn something and change as a heroic figure and struggle through tragedy to become whatever they're trying to become. When you say you throw all that progress away, then you are abandoning all those heroic or virtuous elements for something else, which could be a fine tragedy. You see a hero become a villain. You could tell a story like that, so that could work. The problem is, does it work? That's the question. The game forces the player to take morally reprehensible actions without recourse and sit with the consequences. Okay, this is also true, I believe. You do take morally reprehensible actions without recourse. I think there is some recourse, but that's not important. And sit with the consequences. The problem is, what are the consequences? We see the consequences with Ellie because every time she seeks out revenge, it hurts her. It takes stuff away from her. She loses family. She loses friends. She loses part of herself. So she does, in fact, sit with the effects of her choices. The opposite is not the same for Abby, though. Abby goes through all these actions, and she gets better as a result of taking revenge and trying to go through life. She ends up helping people for some reason. We don't know why, aside from having nicer dreams. And her dreams get better as a result, which is strange. So it's telling us that revenge is good for Abby, but revenge is bad for Ellie. So it's kind of this backwards relationship. Like, why is it bad for one person but good for another? Abby, of course, just bounces around the plot because they want her to, and she turns on all her friends, all her companions, because she wants to save these two kids. You're like, oh, that's interesting. And the only thing we understand is that there was some mention of lightening her load because she felt guilty or something, and we don't know why she feels guilty. There's no understanding of what exactly she's doing and why, which is not what you do in a plot. A plot is not some nebulous thing. You can have multiple plots, which can be nebulous because there's multiple or subplots that say, well, we're not sure why he's helping her. Could be love, could be affection, could be boredom. We don't know. But there's one always discernible plot which should be clear, and we don't get that with Abby because she just bounces around after a certain time. It's a dark adventure punctuated with some beautiful moments of light that propel the story even higher. Really? Where are these moments of light? The only thing I can think of is in Abby's dream where she sees her dad better and she goes decide suddenly to help kids now. And when Ellie decides to give up and she's at the farmhouse with Dina. That's the nicest parts of either thread. That's it. But then it goes right back into darkness. So, and it's a very tonal shift as well. That's usually not a good thing when you have these jumps in tone and drops of plot. Like, that's one of the worst things you could do is just drop your plot. Hey, let's go be happy now. And then, I can't be happy. I'm having PTSD or whatever. And it's even worse with Abby, where her plot becomes her dream. It's stupid. It's a horrible way to tell a story. Dreams are never a good inclination for motivation or to subvert our expectations, because if it was all a dream, that's not a very good reasoning for what happened in the past or why you're pursuing the future. The Last of Us Part 2 succeeds from a gameplay perspective. Okay, I'll give them all this. It's true. Looks great, plays well, etc. Some people didn't like the gameplay. I'm not going to comment on that because it's each their own. This speaks to The Last of Us 2's intelligence. The gameplay is smart. I don't know. Even the AI in the first game wasn't very good. Wasn't that better in the second one? Blending survival elements with combat mechanics, map design, very large maps. Its story challenges the player to think, analyze, and contextualize as the plot unfolds. This is kind of the problem, though. We don't know why characters are behaving the way they are, aside from we need the plot to now occur this way because the writer wanted it to. That's not a good indication of good writing. Good writing denotes a clarity to the audience why things are happening, what's going on. And within that clarity, you have subplots and multiple reasons why characters are acting. And you can guess why they're acting. Maybe you can develop those subplots with side characters or reasons why characters are coming along with the main character on their plot. That's fine, but that doesn't happen. Especially if we have to contextualize stuff. Why is Abby doing anything after a certain point? We don't know. Why is she turning on her entire organization for a bunch of kids? We don't know, aside from a dream. It's a refreshing, unexpected, and continually gripping game that elevates itself above being just another third-person action adventure. Okay, so refreshing means you're breathing new life into something. You're feeling invigorated. So I would say, you know what? Any sequel to a game is refreshing to the original game. That's true. Doesn't mean it's a good experience, though. It just means it's new. So new is technically refreshing, sure. Unexpected, yes. And continually gripping, yes. So it is refreshing by virtue of being a sequel. Unexpected by virtue of being subversive, which is not necessarily a good thing. And continually gripping for having us not know what the hell is going on and having all this violence and all these scenes where Ellie should have died 4 times over and she's still alive and she keeps getting saved by other people, even though Abby really wants to kill her and other people really want to kill her. It's dumb in that capacity. It's contrived. None of these things are good things, though. Unexpected could be good if plot reveals are actually well earned and make sense, but they're not. Getting shot in the face should kill you, but it's not. These dumb elements. It seems this person can't see the negative or only exemplifies the positive. Of course, this is all bolstered by our presentation. Yes, it looks great. I would also give it kudos to the accessibility options. That's also a very good thing that Naughty Dog spent a lot of time on. So yes, I think it should definitely win the award for accessibility, not for Game of the Year. That speaks to the ways in which The Last of Us 2 rises to every metric. Again, what metric? Give us a metric, sir, because your storytelling metric or criteria seems to be missing. It's a sprawling, thoughtful game. Yeah, that's the problem. It's a little too thoughtful when you have multiple threads and multiple perspectives and you're playing as people you don't want to play as. That affirms Naughty Dog's place at the peak of the industry. Oh, really? This is still 2020, and last I checked, Cyberpunk hasn't come out yet. CD Projekt Red is the gold standard. So Naughty Dog, not so much. The competition is stiff with Ghost of Tsushima, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Animal Crossing New Horizons, etc. But the boldness and mastery, yes, it is bold. That doesn't mean it's good. And mastery of The Last of Us Part 2 displays is unparalleled. I don't see how boldness makes it a good thing. That just means you're doing risks. You're doing different things. And that's usually not a good thing. That's not to say every game shouldn't do that. Every game should have something unique about it. but it has to be rooted in something that works, that people actually want. When you have your father figure get killed in the first hour of the game, that's probably not a good sign, unless there's going to be this huge exposition on why that was important and how that worked. And it has to be done so perfect for people to get behind. I honestly think this is a lot of buyer's remorse, and people are justified. Oh, my $60 has to mean something. It must be good. It must be good. Oh, I felt something. I'm feeling drama, therefore it's good. They don't understand the emotions they're going through and why things are bad. Imagine if your family member just got killed across the street. You'd be like, holy crap, that's horrible. But, oh, you were learning to identify with the person who did it. Like, okay, it explains their behavior a little bit, but it still makes you hate that person. And then you're actually asked to play as that character, as opposed to other games where you could play as the villain with a much clearer and better understood narrative. And we've done this over the years. Breath of Fire 4 is a great example. You play as the villain. And at the end of the game, you show off against the villain as well. A showdown against the villain. In a weaker year, Naughty Dog's win would be a foregone conclusion. In 2020, a year that, despite everything else, ended up being excellent for gaming, that win is less absolute. Fine, whatever. Still, The Last of Us Part 2 certainly remains at the front of the conversation and remains deserving to the top prize. It certainly remains at the front of the conversation the same way The Last Jedi is at the front of the conversation when it comes to Star Wars. But neither deserve the top prize. That's strange. And look at the comments I just picked up now. Don't know why you are worried that it won't win. It's basically a left-leaning gamer's wet dream that follows the Last Jedi approach, of course. It would be honestly quite cliche if it won, and more interesting if it won, and more interesting if it goes to Animal Crossing won instead. And he's trying to say it would be strange if it didn't win, because it's so left-leaning, and all the apparently the critics who give it 90s and 95s are left-leaning anyway. Fine with the gameplay, however, it doesn't deserve so many honors, let alone top spot. The awards show clearly revealed itself to be a sham. Game journalists should stop pandering for clicks. It is okay to be critical of a game. Yeah. So this review was not very critical of the game as a whole. It was pretty much gushing about how great the narrative was without telling us why or how. Low reviews, bad sales, glitches, bad story rate. It had actually excellent sales. So I'm not sure that's the case. Unless you want to concern or contemplate return sales. I don't know what the stats are for that. Glitches for sure, bad story writing. Please, CBR peeps, be more honest and do a little less pandering. I'm for inclusion, 100%, but not at the expense of making a great game, which this wasn't. Total sham awards, and the internet is eating them alive for it. Yeah, and I'm one of those people just calling out critics for what they are. You do not gush about something without providing proper reasons and without providing proper arguments. You have to provide both sides of the coin. We've gone over this many times, and this article just says it's so good, it's triumphant, without telling us where it's triumphant, why it's deserving of all this stuff. I mean, it almost feels too visceral. Yes, it is very gory. So is Gears of War. So are multiple other games that came out in the past 10 years. That doesn't make it good. Why is the naming of NPCs important? Why is killing dogs important? What does that mean? Tell us. It's a harrowing experience. Usually a harrowing experience for the player is not a good thing. A harrowing experience for the character, that's a different story. That's drama. That's tragedy. Why did the drama and tragedy work, or why not? That's what we need to know to make a narrative work. So anyway, those are just my thoughts on this article. What do you guys think? Thanks for listening. Have yourself a great day.